Do you even know who the fuck I am? Do ya? Alright, what is up, guys? We're here for Charlotte. The dirt track at Charlotte, and we're a little late, but that's alright. Just a big I consider a half mile, even though I think it might be listed 4/10, but you're usually going around the outside, so it's a longer track, probably closest resembles Eldora. So we'll just make comparisons, and we'll talk about where it differentiates from Eldora. Even though I didn't do my Eldora track review yet, but anywho, just looking at it, 3 and 4 is a little wider than 1 and 2 by the looks of it, and the shape of it, it's kind of egg-shaped. It's a little bit egg-shaped, a little narrower in like width here from side to side compared to 3 and 4. At least that's what it feels like too. Whereas in turns 1 and 2, you can really come in and like hit an apex, or in 3 and 4, I feel like you gotta stay lower to run the bottom all the way around. Because I remember I used to. We'll just bring out one. So here's 1 and 2. So yeah, and 22 is really the only part of the track that changes. But it changes a lot throughout the entire night, even in qualifying. I feel like this is one of my harder tracks, at least in officials. Just at least to especially qualify, because turns 1 and 2 changes so much between 100 and 200 laps, whatever the numbers are. It probably changes as much as a quarter mile track, at least in terms of the lines. But see, here we have 3 and 4, and then it's also very bumpy. You get very bumpy in the straightaways and on the entries of the corners here. So we're back at turns 1 and 2 here. So generally in qualifying, it starts slicking up really only on entry, because everybody comes in normally for the apex, boom, and on out, and they can be very straight out. That's why it doesn't get as slick out. And this slick kind of gets further into the corner before it backs up. Where some other tracks, the slick kind of backs up to the straightaway. Here the backstretch will get slicker, pretty slick before the front straightaway. But yeah, so then in qualifying, it's kind of hard, is it just, coming and bottom, not when there's quite that much slick, but is it coming and bottom, or is it middle? And then, so there's so much grip out here, you're like, all right, is it middle? You can kind of run a cut down line to get a little bit lower. Then if it's slick enough, if there's a little bit of cush on entry, you might come all the way up to the cush, but then it's not there in the middle, so you kind of cut down from it. And then even big slider line, I think, is an underrated one here. That as long as you can maintain grip on exit, there has to be no slick, not even slick. If it's just slippery there and your car will break loose, it's gonna fuck up your whole lap. But in the right conditions, a slider line will easily be like a tenth and a half better at times. But you just gotta be really cognitive. I don't think that's the right word. Really mindful of your car slipping on exit, because you're gonna carry so much speed, and the right rear is gonna want to come around. And if there's any slick, it's gonna kill all the momentum for the straightaway. Where running the middle and carrying the exit with speed will be better. But I don't know, whatever for reasons, if it's just the line or what. No, I remember it well. It was 2018 cushion, but the first pro race, like, the bottom looked so fresh, and then everyone went quick time around the top, and I think Tim Ryan went quick time on the bottom, because I was like, yeah, it's all right there, I think. But then like 2nd through 5th we're all just ripping the whole top. But that was early cushion build. But so qualifying is tricky here. I'd say the most tricky in an official, 3 and 4 is easy. 3 and 4 is just run either, if there's any slick, so it always gets slick quite far up the racetrack, so it's really easy. So once you can't arc all the way in and hold the bottom all the way around, you're trying to cut that down a little bit. And if you can still hold the bottom, great, but then it's hard on entry because you're trying to creep out as close to the slick without touching as you can to give yourself an angle, but then you might spin your tires in that slick on entry and ruins the whole corner. So the best is always just to slide it up, and then even the slider line is so... Cat, use the fucking scratcher. Stop scratching the carpet next to it. Even the slider line, you get caught by this wall, well, especially, I mean, not in qualifying, but in like maybe a later heat race, once it gets kind of that slick in the middle and then you're sliding through the slick, your car wants to push out a lot of tight, or you're just trying to get all that grip out to that wall, and then if you're not cognitive, if you're not mindful of it, you're gonna end up with your right rear in it before you know it. Yeah, that's really just qualifying. I have a replay background. It's only the feature, and it's actually though it's from second split of the pro qualifier race, because I forgot to save my replays all week. But you see how the back straightaway already. Here, let's zoom this out a little more. Now we can see where my mouse goes. See how the back straightaway is slicker already? I believe it should have started at 0. Yes. Okay, and that depends too. On pre-gen tracks, like I said, it's a lot slicker on the entries of the corners right at the start. But it also means that cushion is going to be in a little bit earlier on pre-gens. But yeah, I guess this is a start, so there would have been 2 heats and 2 B mains. There was only 22 cars. But yeah, so it looks pretty clean in the middle of 1 and 2, 3 and 4. It might be. Well, let's see. Let's go on board with the car real quick for their first lap. All right, so see what it looks like. So it looks like a little slick entry all the way on the bottom too, and that was probably from it being a clean track on qualifying. More people were able to run that line longer, whereas in a pre-gen they wouldn't be that low right away. They'd already be in the middle. As we almost destroy a tire, and here's how we see the slick on it. Cat is going nuts behind me. And then 3 and 4, same thing, just kind of where the Q line would normally be, then one more slick spot here in the middle. So a lot of grip, but I would say fastest line's just still right around the wall, because even, well, there's a slick spot up here on entry. Yeah, just by looking at this car, the middle's juiced up. I was going to say the middle was slippery, but there's still grip in this dirt. It's just all about hitting the middle on exit, not hitting this straightaway grip. So let's go back to our pit lane. So that's lap 1. We'll just play this in fast forward. See how it changes. See in 3 and 4, they're running crumbs. They're all running crumbs up here. But that's where the line is. You see a big slick patch coming out to that on entry, and you got to be mindful. We'll talk about that when we break down 3 and 4. But that bump entering the top here and how you got to get above it. Still cars kind of run in the middle, but it's just so slick on exit. They can't carry any straightaway speed. There the leaders are running the top. Couple guys middle. One guy trying to bring the bottom. And there you see the difference from the bottom. Then this is because, like I said, that you can kind of apex this, where you can, if you're widening enough, you got a lot more grip here on exit of the bottom of 2 than there is at the bottom of 4 right here. You see this kind of looks like about 1 car width, and this one's 2 car widths. So that's what allows the bottom to be a lot better in 1 and 2 than it is in 3 and 4. And here you see it kind of entering in that middle and sliding up, like I said. That'd be like a late heat race and a league race. But that's how it is in the official. I'll go back forward. Let the gen up. Let the slick generate a little bit. So this is about halfway, lap 15. Okay, got a caution. Track might change a bit under the caution. As you, oops. I think I was spectating someone on the left. But now we see it a lot slicker here, a lot darker. Let's go on board. A lot darker here in 3 and 4 now. In the middle, before it was kind of 1 slick lane. Now it's kind of all the bottom, all the way up to the exit. I meant all the way up until on exit, then it opens up a little bit more. But 3 and 4, yeah, see, it's good juice down here on the bottom, but also in just certain situations where there's a restart, so now you have 20 cars that are all going to be cutting down the track and all running this. And like, if you get 3 quick yellows, that can eliminate the bottom out of turn 4 on certain tracks like Volusia, where you especially really know where you have to be really sharp. Grove, where you got to make a sharp corner at the end of turn 4. You do a restart and everybody's cutting down that adds so many more laps on it that wouldn't be ran on it during the race. You gotta be mindful of that. You know, if the yellow comes out and that's what you've been running and you're like, it might be going away, then think, well, there's going to be 20 more cars on it instead of 2 or 3 that would have ran over normally. Decent little 1-lane down line, and it's viable in 360s. I don't think 410s. It's a lot more rare. But you see how kind of it's almost strips of grip, because you see the lanes everybody ran at one point, so then it leaves the little strips of grip in between all the lanes, and there you see all that grip on the exit 2 there. So we'll see what the leaders do. Okay, they're running the top. Okay, this guy just ran the bottom, entered on it. They're gonna hit it the greatest. But look where he ended up. Even though he didn't hit it the greatest, he went from 3rd to side by side with 2nd. You could slide him right now for the lead. Yeah, he is. There you go. So yeah, we'll just fast forward. What happens to this track? Back straightaway, slicker. Now you get some crumbs. A lot more people went to the bottom out of 2, and those crumbs started covering up the slick in 1 and 2. Not much in 3 and 4, but I would say this build is the most racy I've seen in Charlotte than ever before. Because even the middles come in regular official races. The middles coming in 3 and 4 a little bit. And then, like I said, the line moving around so much in 1 and 2. Charlotte's the raciest that it's been in this build, you know, compared to other ones where just the cushion was stronger, or I don't know what. It's just the cars can run other lines is best. Now you see a couple guys were dipping down into 3 and 4. So they're running the bottom all the way around. Leaders just running bottom to top. Like I said, you see that below all these crumbs there, you see that still grip a lane there between the slick in the middle and the slick at the top. So you can just use that and slide all the way up. But I'll just cut to the end of this. Now we're starting to see dust fly in the back, and yeah, it's just crumbs just completely covered that middle dirt, and I don't think it will come in 1 and 2. Even once the bottom goes away, then I think it's just top. Maybe you can get some sort of cut down line. If you can enter about here, cut down, hit some crumbs, and then maybe some grip off. In 3 and 4, cut down's never really a thing, just because it's so slick, like right about here on exit. And it's just I think it's because it's so flat. Also, it's a lot flatter than 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is higher banked. Or cut down's just never good. Even like, you know, that's why slider in 3 and 4. If you want to throw a slider, I usually do it here 3 and 4 all the time, just because it's so much harder too for that. Even if they know it's coming, it's cutting down early. It just doesn't. It's not. It just is not as easy as it is in other corners. Where in 1 and 2 they can use the banking and come down the track. But yeah, cutting down's just tough. So. Then yeah, at the end, track's pretty much black all around. Then it's pretty much just going to be at the top. Anyone that can keep the car straight and carry momentum. It's going to be a fast line. So just take a quick look at 1 and 2 here again. Because we talked about the slick here. And then it kind of trailed off on the top a little bit. And then it came in it'll come in on the back straightaway. And that's usually what hurts the middle bottom the most, is because they can't run that line to the straightaway, just because then they get that slick, where these guys are already going straight. They have a longer straightaway. You got to be off the bottom, but you got to slow the car so much in the early stages to hit the bottom that is just not viable. So that keeps it up top a lot longer. So eventually you'll get that top. And like I said, this race, because it started clean, everybody ran that qualifying line in. So there was a bit of a slick right there against the top bottom, where the pre-gen, it wasn't going to bend that way. They would have advanced through a middle a lot, but the middle was good because the track started clean. That's a big part of why this track is racier now. There's at least if it's pre-gen track, it's still shit. But yeah, you kind of had this, and people could use the middle, but again, it was just the exits. And then, well, actually, let's take these back because the bottom was very viable. There we go. That's a little more realistic than how it was because we can use this. You see where the most grip is in the corner? It's right on the exit too. It's what allows those people to arc it in and get it off. Where in 3 and 4, you can't come down the racetrack. You can't apex it like that. Like I said, you can, enter low, but then you have to slow down in the middle so much instead of opening your entry. But yeah, it's just, you gotta be careful about when the track is really fast, like in a heat race or something. You gotta worry about hitting the wall in the middle of the corner right here. In late models, it's the same thing. The bottom sticks around longer. You just gotta be able to lift, keep the car straight, and get grip off. You can even slide to here a little bit. In 3 and 4, it's really not top in 3 and 4 in late models. Only different, they just run slider the whole time. And then the bottom of 3 and 4 is a little bit better in a late model than it is in a sprint car. You just gotta worry about that though in the middle of the corner, and then just the bumps on entry. If you're entering too low, you're gonna get in the slick, and it's gonna hurt your corner. If you're entering high, you're gonna hit some bumps, but you can keep the car so much straighter, and it's gonna allow you to straighten out the middle of the corner a lot more too. And then there's even the bumps on exit here too. You gotta worry about. So you get in those, you're gonna get in the slick, and your car's gonna over rotate and go towards the infield. It's a lot harder than a place like Eldora to run the top, probably just because the bumps all the way around, and then just the shaping. The only thing about Eldora you really can worry about is maybe the center of 3 and 4, but just the exit of turn 2. It's the only place where you're really gonna lose speed. But yeah, a lot of people, like I said, they come in too low, and then like I said, they'll get in this slick, and that's why they get in trouble on that entry right there, because the wall kind of opens up here and then sharpens down. And that's where they get into contact with that right there, and they end up pancaking it or whatever. But yeah, then like I said, middle's not really viable. But like in a 360, where you can get through this entry slick, you could even wrong color. You can, especially if it's slick on entry, you can shortcut that. And then you're gonna have to worry about that slick out of two, like I said, if you run a slider. But if there's enough grip there, it gives you enough speed on entry and middle where you'll be alright on exit if you just slow the car down and keep it straight. But the middle can be better in 360s, not so much 410s. They just have so much power, you're able to kind of sweep all the way around the corner, keep that momentum up. I'll break down 3 and 4. Said one thing, this little opening, the opening here, let's say there's a bump right here, and so a lot of people, if they don't, like I said, opening up the entry of the top, if you can get over that bump, it almost feels like you're outside on this dirt, but then it allows you to straighten out and just run that entry so hard when you do it. But it's just really scary. It takes a lot of, especially in like a midget, because you feel like you're going outside the track almost, but you feel like you're just gonna hit this wall right here. And I mean, you do sometimes. If you hit the bump or you graze the back straightaway wall, then you might wheelie, and then it's like, oh shit, now I can't turn in, and you're gonna hit that with your right rear tire. So you get that bump. Like I said, you get all this really slick here, so people run the slider line, and then so it kind of gets lower and comes out, but then because they run the slider and they're all slagging up on the exit, it gets here. What does that do? People just tighten their slider line and get all the way above it. Makes it slicker here a little bit. Let's get rid of that other line. But yeah, you're just basically running slider line the entire time until the top comes in, and that's where you saw that one little narrow groove form, because everyone runs slider line. So then you'll get this slick, and then when the top is slick from people entering there, you'll kind of get that groove, but you can't hold that groove all the way around. You only can hold it to about exit here. You can come in and just run that lane down, and then you just kind of got to move it up because there's more slick there. So you can do that. but then like I said, eventually more people run slagger, then it goes away. It just kind of, it gets further and further back where you have to move up on exit. So then you're just entering low and going to the top, and it's just slowing speed when it's better to carry it around the outside. But like I said, to run the bottom, best thing I've done is just come in low and keep the car really straight to get to exit, because I would always try to come in and arc it, but then because it has that little bit of negative banking in there, it's not flat. It's it wants to push you off the racetrack, and if you get even the least bit slagways, or if you step your right rear off of that banking, it's gonna get caught up in this slick right here, and it's just gonna kill all. You're gonna get spin around. So it's a lot harder to carry speed into the exit of the corner. And whereas in 1 and 2 you can kind of enter wide and come down the track, you can't do that here. Especially like I said, because it's so slick on that entry, but then you have that negative banking. Where in 1 and 2 it's just flat. If it was just flat here, it'd be a lot better of a corner. It wouldn't be as good because you still couldn't apex it as much, but you'd be able to run that lane up a little bit more, and then even get your left rears way below it, but you kind of can't because you're always fighting that banking. And like I said, then just coming in, rung in the middle on the flat part, just above it, is a line too. Sometimes at the end of the race, if the top gets slick enough, you can just roll it, keep the car straight, and even try to get a little bit of grip off exit, because there's going to be a lot of slick here from the top. But yeah, roll in the middle for the first time in an official race that I've seen this season. Where you'd see it before in league races, but that's because the track gets a lot slicker. So like I said, it's it's still not the best track. It's very top dominant, but it still races. I think it's racing the best that it has currently. Like I said, Slagger in 3 and 4, Slagger in 1 and 2. I mean, you can clear a guy and everything, but it's just really easy for people to cross over. But yeah, it's a tough track to pass just because you're really kind of limited on options. And even when you do hit a corner, it's like, all right, the next corner, say you set someone up in the bottom of 1 and 2, and it sets you for a slagger in 3 and 4. That's really the only way to do it, unless you just have a better run on them than the top. So, but that is the dirt track at Charlotte. Like I said, it'd be a lot better if you just got rid of that banking on the inside. Even in 1 and 2, they could flatten it out just a little bit. Yeah, otherwise I think that covered everything. Just like I said, you enter the corners high on top, and you gotta not be scared of the wall on entry. It's most of people's problem running the top, so just make your corners as wide as you can. Keep getting it wider until you hit the wall. You gotta know the limits. You gotta learn the limits to know the limits. That's where you see, that's where you're gonna lose time at this track, is people just running the right line just better. But yeah, otherwise, try that bottom in 1 and 2, and then that lane down in 3 and 4 if the top's not your thing. Wait for that very bottom of 3 and 4 to come in maybe, but it's so tough to keep the momentum up compared to the top where people are just full throttle all the way around. So anyway, hope you guys learned something. Peace the fuck out.